So I didn't really understand that why they could show that, but Negan can't say the F word. I mean, you might as well give him the F word. So.
Well, I kind of agree. I don't really miss, because since I'm not a comic reader, I don't have that to compare it to, and I don't really miss the obscenities.
Right.
But, yeah, I kind of agree that it was, even my husband said that was probably one of the most graphic scenes he had ever seen during normal TV viewing.
During normal TV, right. It was disturbing to me because I just wasn't expecting it. So, I mean, if we can endure that, we can endure some cursing. I feel like they might as well just bring him full form and give him the cursing. But they're not going to do it. They do let him get some in there. Like,
yeah,
especially like these past 2 episodes, he's definitely gotten some in there. But
yeah,
I really like Jeffrey Dean Morgan. I think it's obvious he's having a lot of fun playing the character. I'm not gonna be sad when he finally gets, meets his end. I'm not gonna be sad.
Well, I guess he's maybe one of those people you love to hate type.
Absolutely. Yeah, but he does make me laugh.
I'm not as excited about Negan as you are or everyone else, but I think it's because I see him as just a big bully.
He is. Absolutely
and
is.
I think that they've already had numerous opportunities to take him out, and they haven't been successful or haven't even tried when they could have. And that's what bothers me about him.
Yeah.
I don't think he would be that hard to defeat, but it depends on how loyal his people are to him.
Yes. And that's the thing, too, is that they seem to be fiercely loyal except for a wanderer or two. But, I don't want to get too much into predictions right now at this moment because I was going to say, like, what I think they should do and what could happen in the future. But,
yeah.
But we'll get to that. But I would say, there's some things that he says that are just so outrageous that it does make me laugh out loud. Even though he made me very mad last episode when he kept making fat jokes about Olivia and made her cry. That really upset me. And I wanted to come to the TV and punch him.
I know.
Those little things. Olivia, so much worse things.
Olivia did not deserve that.
Ah, poor girl. But we'll get to that. So another highlight, if you can call it a highlight, I'm not even going to call these highlights, just things that have stood out this season. Negan making Carl taking off his eye patch for the first time. Did you cringe like I cringed?
Yeah. And it's poor, it made Carl more vulnerable right then and there, exposing his flaw,
I was like, whoa, Carl is crying. Carl never cries. Carl didn't even cry when Glenn and Abraham died. He barely cried when Lori died. But Negan making fun of his eye made him break down, and I couldn't believe it. I was like, this is the first time we've seen Carl like this in a long time. So that bothered me.
And that was why Negan did it, too. Like I said, I mean, he's a bully. That's what the guy is.
Yes. It did kind of lead to a briefly soft moment when Negan apologized when Carl started crying, and he's like, I forget that you're just a kid sometimes. So that was, I was like a little taken aback. I was like, whoa, is he kind of being remorseful here? I can't believe it. But then this is the same guy, I forgot the name of the Oceanside group from last episode. They said that the Saviors wiped out all their men and all the boys over the age of 10. So if this is somebody who's killing 11-year-olds, then it kind of just brings me 10 steps back with Negan. So
right.
I couldn't appreciate that moment too much. But
well, I wondered if he's trying to win Carl over to him.
Mm-hmm.
And, I mean, I guess maybe the exposing the eye wouldn't help to do that. But the other ways that he treated Carl more like an adult.
Right.
And it almost seemed like he's trying to win Carl over.
Well, yeah, I think that I definitely believe that too, because he could have easily, like Carl said, he could have easily killed him and Rick by now and Daryl, but for some reason he's holding on because he thinks he's going to get them on their side, on his side, and I think he's sadly mistaken.
Yeah.
So, we'll see. We'll see about that. Also, this season we were introduced, just another highlight for me. It was an actual highlight. We were introduced to Ezekiel and Sheba for the first time in episode 2, which was a nice break from that depressing season opener. But I loved the look of Sheba. I was very impressed. Tigers are my favorite animals, so I was very impressed, and I've been very upset that we haven't seen them since.
I've been very disappointed. That was such a good episode, I thought. I loved meeting, even though the kingdom seems a little wacky.
Yes.
It's cool and it works. You know, it gives people some hope in their very bleak world.
Exactly.
And I was really looking forward to seeing more of the kingdom in these 8 episodes.
I definitely thought we were going to see more, and that's not what we got. We barely, and that's getting into some of the lows of the season, is the lack of Carol and Morgan. I say people give Morgan a hard time. I adore Morgan. So I'm upset that I really like this friendship that he's been building with Carol, and we've barely seen any of it. And so that bothers me a little bit, but definitely was a highlight.
I know one person who thinks it's a highlight, and that's Ike. He does not like Morgan and Carol.
Oh my gosh!
So we'll hear his take on that next week.
Okay, well, I like that we have opposing views on that. You get to hear 2 sides of it.
Yeah.
I can't believe he doesn't like Morgan. Come on now, just because he doesn't want to kill people. I mean, come on. But, I like that about him. All life is precious, right?
Well, I think Morgan will, if he has to, if he's in a position, he will kill to save someone who deserves to be saved. So,
yeah, he killed to save So,
I think Morgan will do what he needs to do.
Right. All right. So, yeah, that would be a low, is the lack of Carol and Morgan. Another low for me is, well, they've kind of rectified it now because Daryl's reunited with the group, which we're going to get into. But that whole episode of Daryl being tortured, not just that whole episode, this whole season so far, Daryl's being Negan's little bitch, and I hate it. I hate it so much. Like, this is not the Daryl that I want to see. I miss Daryl with the motorcycle and the crossbow, and not being punked by Dwight and Negan. This is not what I want.
I know.
So I don't know if seeing that was as tough on you as it was on me.
Well, yeah. Well, I think it was really hard to see Daryl broken, but really, I think he was just playing along as much as he could just to survive, you know.
I guess that's a possibility. I didn't even think about that. Like, he was just playing along for now that he's broken and he's still a soldier. But I mean, we did see that moment with him when he was locked up, and he just, they weren't letting him go to sleep, and he just started crying. And I was like, oh my gosh, I was crying.
Well, I think he did feel some despair then. And, who wouldn't,
He's living with that guilt about Glenn, that Glenn would still be alive. If it wasn't for him. So that's unfortunate. Man, I hope Negan gets it, because now I don't want to think about Glenn. Now, let's get into the nitty-gritty. Season 7, Episode 8, mid-season finale of The Walking Dead. Julie, overall, before we get into details, what did you think of this episode?
I really enjoyed it, and I think it was the best episode of the season since the first 2 episodes. I liked, the premiere and then the kingdom, and then I thought this one stood out. And this one, in some ways, was really better because it ended on such a positive note.
It did.
And some really good things happened.
And yeah, some really good things and some really, really not good things at all. But
for some people it wasn't so good, but for our main core group, that most of us are most interested in.
Right, absolutely, yeah.
It turned out good. So how did you feel about it?
I thought it was good. I'm glad this episode and last week. One of the things that bothers me the most is when they'll do an entire episode with just one or two characters, and we're still wondering what's going on with everybody else, and we have to wait weeks to find out. So the last couple of episodes, they've been interweaving storylines with all the characters, and that's what I want. Sometimes,
Right.
you know, characters like Tara and Heath are cool, but they don't need an entire episode to themselves, you know what I mean? So I like seeing everybody. Knowing what's going on with Rick and Aaron. They went off on their little excursion and they came back to the compound this week. And then obviously Negan speaking to Spencer, Rosita and Eugene and Spencer all having their interactions. And then a little bit of Carol and Morgan this episode with the man from the kingdom trying to get them to plan an attack against the Saviors. Which is not smart because the kingdom is not strong enough to take the Saviors on their own. But I understand why he wants it so badly. But overall, I did enjoy this episode, and I was happy about that because I've been disappointed so far.
Yeah, well, you know, it was my complaint about the slower pace of the past few episodes, and not only focusing on a couple of characters.
Right.
But they did so much in this one that it was hard to keep.
Exactly.
For me, I guess I was just used to it being, just focusing on one or two groups.
Yeah. And that's the thing, too. Now everyone's saying it's like, oh, we're all complaining about the slow pace, but when they give us, what we wanted, then everybody's like, slow down.
Yeah.
Actually funny.
We're not used to this.
Yeah, exactly. But, I enjoyed some things. I am a Michonne shipper. Rick and Michonne, I love them together. And I was afraid, because Michonne is so against bending to the Saviors, I was afraid it might come between her and Rick. But they showed this episode that that's not happening, that she's going to stand by him regardless. So I really appreciated that because I'm like, please don't break them up already. I haven't gotten enough of Rick and Michonne. I don't know if you like them together.
I'm a big Michonne fan, more so than a Rick fan.
Same.
So I maybe would pick someone else for her, but, I'm okay with them together.
Yeah, I mean, they were two badasses. I thought they kind of made sense. And they were such good friends. She loves his kids. It kind of made sense.
I know. Well, it's sweet. I just would have picked someone better for her.
Who would you have put her with? I don't know, Eugene? No.
No, I can't imagine that.
I'm just kidding. That would be hilarious.
I think she and Ezekiel would make a good match.
Oh, you know what? I think maybe Ezekiel might be a little too soft for Michonne.
He might be a little too crazy. Yeah. She's crazy too in her own way.
I don't know if she would like that theatric accent that he speaks in. I don't know if she would really like that too much. Like, obviously, comic book readers know all about Michonne's love lives, and she's had a couple of different love interests in the comics that we haven't seen in the show. We've only seen her and Rick so far, but I hope they keep them together. So that was a nice moment.
Yeah, well, I'm glad that since they have them together, I'm glad that they are seeing eye to eye now. Yes,
exactly. We need them to be a unit and lead this war, which we're going to get to. So, obviously, 2 character deaths this episode. One, I think people were kind of expecting. Another one, nobody was really expecting. And I actually feel bad about the minor character death. I feel more bad about the minor character death than the major character death. Now, if you have not seen the mid-season finale, I'm going to tell you now, spoilers are a-coming.
Oh, yeah.
Spoiler territory. You're on
they
right
can
now.
Turn off now if they haven't.
Yes, please. And I don't know why you listen to this if you hadn't watched it yet anyway.
There you go.
Go check out the episode and then come back and listen. So, 2 character deaths, Spencer and poor Olivia. Which one would upset you more if you cared about either of these characters? Then?
Oh, Olivia, definitely.
Yeah.
Because she's pretty innocent. And, I mean, she